In our last video in this series, we talked about the bristle brushes and various polishing compounds. Well, in this video, I'm going to introduce you to the Foredom by Oral line of silicone and rubber polishing wheels. Now, these are all mounted, however, there are a few options that are unmounted. We'll discuss those as we get going. Hi, I'm Melissa Muir. Let's jump in and we'll take a look now. So let's take a brief look at some of the accessories. And no, I do not even have all of them here. But taking a look at this briefly, we have on this side up to the yellow, these are all silicone polishing wheels. And then from the black over to the white here, these are all going to be rubber. So what is the difference between them? First, let's take a look at our silicone polishing wheels. We have a variety of 7 different grits that are available. Now, some of these grits are doubled up, but we'll talk about some of those differences. Let's take a look at this range here. So starting here with the black, this is 150 grit, so it's going to be fairly aggressive. Moving to the white and the brown, both of these are about 180 grit. Now the white has a little harder composition, and this is going to be more widely used in jewelry. As we move over to the green, we move into 240 grit. The 320 is the pink, and blue and yellow are both 600 grit. However, the blue is a little bit harder, and depending on the material you're using, in my case where I'm a metalsmith, the yellow is going to give me a little finer look or a finer finish because it is softer. In a dental setting, your blue is going to be used for something like porcelain, whereas the yellow would be used for resin. In the rubber wheels, we have 4 options here. We've got the black, brown, green, and white. Black is going to be coarse, brown is fine, blue or green is extra fine, and the white is an ultra fine. In addition to the mounted options for rubber, we also have a wheel that is unmounted, and you would use this with a screw top mandrel. So as you can see, we have a lot of options here. But really, what is the difference between rubber and the silicone? Which do you choose? Well, really, you can choose either one, but there are a couple of key differences between them. First of all, rubber is harder, and it is also going to be a little bit longer lasting and hard wearing. It can also be very, very much more aggressive than what the silicone would be. Silicone, on the other hand, is newer to the market. It's only been around for about 10 or 15 years. It is much softer than its rubber counterpart. It can be shaped quite easily, and it also works really well under high heat. Now, in terms of working safely with these different accessories, there are a few things to keep in mind, one of which is the RPM. Now, the RPM is how fast it is rotating within your handpiece, and you do not want to exceed its maximum. What happens if you exceed the maximum? Well, it can kind of just explode and disintegrate, which is not good at all. So make sure you check the box for your each individual item, and make sure you do not go above that recommended speed. You should also take the safety precautions of making certain you have a very good pair of goggles and or a face shield. In addition to that, these are going to put out particles that you do not want to respirate, because just like the polishing compounds that we talked about earlier, those can also get into your lungs, and it's not going to be leaving, and so it will embed itself into your organs, and that is just not a good thing. So again, make certain that at a very minimum, you have an N95 mask. Last but not least, if you happen to be fortunate enough to have a nice long mane of hair, be sure you pull that hair back, tie it up so that it does not get caught into a spindle that is running at about 8,000 to 15,000 RPM. Now, as we look at the variety of these, you'll notice that we have everything from very small, tiny points, some that have a kind of a shorter taper to a point, kind of a stubby point maybe. We have inverted cones, we have bullet shapes, we've got rounded top wheels, a tapered wheel, a knife edge, we have all kinds of things. So why do we have all of these different options? Well, let's say, for instance, we have a ring such as this. This has just been cast, The investment has been removed, but no other cleanup other than the filing of maybe the sprue has been done on this. So maybe I'm going to use something fairly aggressive. Now I can use various shapes of these different abrasives to get onto different surfaces. In this case, we have a cylinder that comes to a point, so a bullet shape. All right, and again, they come in sometimes in different widths or thicknesses as well. So again, this is a silicone wheel. It's a black one, which is our ultra coarse, and it's about 150 grit. Now, because we have this flat shape here, I'm able to do some nice broad strokes. Now you'll notice that inside of maybe our setting, I have a little different surface. So this might be where a point would come in really handy to be able to get in and clean out some of those recessed areas. Then let's say we need to clean up a prong. So maybe I would pull in a different wheel or maybe even a knife edge accessory to come in and be able to clean up the prongs as well. And this allows me to have a lot of really good control within those surface areas. Another similar example would be another ring. This time I have a much more broad area. So I've switched out to a cylinder burr, and I'm able to do some nice wide paths on this. Sometimes when I have very intricate details, it would be handy to have something that's going to fit into super fine and tight areas. I can also take those inside of a bale or any other area as needed. The wheels also come in various sizes, which are going to make it easier for me to get into smaller areas such as the inside of a ring without worrying about having to reshape this wheel before I go into this. Now let's say we wanted to be able to polish up these wires pretty easily. One of the things that's kind of nice is you can take a file, and you may want to dedicate a set of files to this, but you can take a file and just run this, and you can shape your wheels however you want them. Now by doing that, I've created a groove that can then come in and run along that wire like so. While we have a very wide variety of shapes and sizes, they are not all the same from silicone to rubber. So you might want to just look at what job you have and then make your decision based on that. If you have more questions, just be sure to drop us a line. As always, these products can be found anywhere Foredom products are sold or at Foredom.net. We'll see you guys next time as we continue our polishing series.